Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars and welcome to another of my triple film reviews. And today's triple review is for the Planet of the Apes trilogy. We have Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and of course War for the Planet of the Apes. Rise coming out in 2011, Dawn in 2014 and War in 2017. Now, I've been really looking forward to checking out this trilogy. I did see Rise of the Planet of the Apes when it was first released in 2011, but I've never got round to seeing the other two films. However, I've managed to watch them now with my wife over the last week or so. We very much enjoyed this trilogy, so I thought I would give you a brief review of each of the films. Now, obviously, I grew up on the Planet of the Apes films, the originals. I'm not like a super fan when it comes to Planet of the Apes or anything like that, but I do have a respect for the franchise, so I was really looking forward to checking out these movies. And of course, we start with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Now, like I said, this was released in 2011 and it was directed by Rupert Wyatt, and it stars James Franco, Andy Serkis as the actor performing Caesar, Freida Pinto, and Christopher Gordon. Now, Rise of the Planet of the Apes was a reimagining, if you like, of the Planet of the Apes franchise, and it starts off with James Franco's character, who is a scientist who's looking for a cure for his father, played by John Lithgow, who's got dementia, and he is using chimps to try this serum on, and it actually enhances their brain activity, makes them very, very intelligent. And his favourite chimp goes a bit crazy in the lab, is killed, and it turns out this chimp was trying to protect its baby. James Franco basically loses everything at this point. The drugs are no go, and all the chimps are instructed to be put to sleep apart from Caesar, who's a baby, and James Franco sneaks him home, mainly as a companion for his father with dementia. But as it turns out, as time goes on, it's very clear that Caesar, as he is named, is very, very intelligent, and the serum that was passed to the mother to increase her intelligence has passed to Caesar in the womb and made him super intelligent. So many years go by, 5 years or something like that. His intelligence continues to grow. However, him being confined at home is not good for the chimp, and things go kind of wrong. He is put in a place for chimps. It's quite brutal. He's not treated very well, as are none of the other chimps and monkeys there, and he decides to revolt with the other chimps. So the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I thought, was a perfect reimagining of this franchise. Really cleverly done. They answer a lot of questions here and there. There's a lot of little tips of the hat to the original. It mentions the space shuttle mission that Charlton Heston was flying. There's other things as well that it respects the original Planet of the Apes about. But in itself, in its own story, it really, really works. It's at times very emotional. Great performances. Andy Serkis as Caesar is mind-blowingly good. Brings this character to life. When he first speaks, it's a real shock, and it's just a nicely put together film that sets up this franchise beautifully, and the last half an hour of the film is really intense, so it sets up a wonderful finale as well. It's really beautifully put together and really well thought out. There are a couple of issues with this film. I don't think they give Freida Pinto anywhere near enough to do in this film. She's just, I don't know, just nice to look at. They don't give her anything really important to do in the film. But it's really hard hitting and very emotional, and it is a really brilliant film. And I can't give you many faults for this film. Really entertaining, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And this led beautifully on to what I probably would describe as my favourite of this franchise, and that is Dawn for the Planet of the Apes. Now, This was directed by, we had Matt Reeves, who directed this and the third one, and this time round we have Gary Oldman in the film as well as Andy Serkis. We have Jason Clarke and Toby Kebbell as Koba. Now this time round it's a number of years later, following on from the first one. The disease that we saw in the first film has wiped out the majority of mankind, to the point where the apes actually think there's no humans left. Caesar has now set up his encampment. He's leading these chimps and monkeys. He is seen as a really strong leader. However, they are surprised when some humans do turn up, and they have to work on an uneasy alliance with the chimps because they need to get to a dam which is past their encampment in order to get the power back in the city where the humans are living. Caesar wants peace and agrees, but Koba, who was experimented on, terribly so in the first film by humans and is scarred all over his body, can't forgive humans just as easily and decides to start a revolt against Caesar in order to start a war with the humans. I think this is a brilliant film. You wondered where it was going to go after the first one. We knew the direction it was going in, obviously, because we know the story of Planet of the Apes, but such a brilliantly pitched story this here. I thought Jason Clarke was really good here in this film, and to be honest, I'm not a big fan of him, generally speaking. Most of his films that I see him in, I'm not impressed, but I think he does really good here. Toby Kebbell needs a real special mention as the performance actor for Koba. Really sinister, brilliantly done, and this conflict between Koba and Caesar that you see intensifies as the film goes on. You can see it coming, and you don't want it to happen. It's really painful to watch these close comrades who have got completely different views on humans and peace, and living side by side, and Koba just can't accept that. So when it all goes wrong here in this film, it's hard hitting because you don't want it to. You want there to be peace with humans and the apes, but you know it's inevitable that it's not going to happen. And they pitch that brilliantly throughout the film. They make you feel at times like it's going to be possible. Caesar has got this real affection for humans, obviously because of how he was brought up and he has seen the good side of humans, so it's not just as easy to judge. And it's really good, a really fantastic finale to the film. Any criticisms here of this film? Yeah, again, Gary Oldman I think could have been given more to do in the film, and maybe, even though it does make mention of the first film and James Franco's character, a little bit more knowledge on what happened to him would have been nice somehow, rather than just a picture and Caesar like staying at his old house for a short period of time that he lived with James Franco's character. But really good film, this one. I really enjoyed it. The effects did make an improvement on the first one, even though they were fantastic in the first film, but I thought they really stepped up the effects here in the second one, and I'm going to score it exactly the same as the first one because I just enjoyed it so much. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Brilliant sequel. I can't give you many faults on it really, and it is brilliantly done with honestly, I absolutely love the effects, and Andy Serkis once again at Caesar blows your mind. So that leads us on to the 2017's War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, War for the Planet of the Apes was again directed by Matt Reeves, and we've got the same cast of characters, apart from we have Woody Harrelson now making an appearance in this film as the General. And this time round, war is well underway, because at the end of the last one, for the humans, when they were under attack, got a message to a military base for help, which they did send, which we are seeing the evidence on in this film now. It's a couple of years later. They've been at war with these soldiers now for a couple of years, and they're taking heavy losses, the apes. That you see a great battle at the beginning. Caesar still wants peace, and he shows some mercy to some soldiers, and he doesn't kill them and sends them back. And unfortunately he is betrayed, and Woody Harrelson and the humans find where they are hiding the apes, and they do a swift attack which ends up with Caesar losing members of his family, which makes him hate humans now, and especially Woody Harrelson's character, the general. He wants to hunt him down and kill him. So he orders the apes to move to a secure location, which is going to be a long distance to travel. It's going to be like a desert area that they've scouted earlier in the film, while he goes off with some of his most loyal companions to hunt down the general and kill him. But this doesn't go well, and they are captured, held prisoner, and at this point it becomes like a real prisoner of war type film. Brutal treatment of the apes, and you just want the apes to get free and get out, and get their own back and just save the species. You know, it was the first time really that I was completely on the side here of the apes in this film. In the other films it kind of a little bit more of a grey area, but at this point now in the film all you're seeing is the worst side of humans now. And the disease that has wiped out most of humanity has mutated into something else, which is frightening Woody Harrelson's character even more, and he's willing to kill his own men. And Caesar, who is now looking weary and old, will do anything to fight to keep his clan alive and his fellow apes alive. And it's a really, really great film, this one. Any criticisms? Yes. Again, I would have liked to have seen what happened to Jason Clarke's character in the last film. He was alive and well, as were some of the other characters. So I would have liked to have seen it tied to the last film a little bit more. It felt a little bit too separate to the last film, even though it did carry on the story from the last one. And yeah, some great action scenes in this one. Some real moments of tenderness. There's some funny scenes as well. Because there's a new ape that joins them, who is played by, and you'll give me a moment here and I shall try and find it. And I thought it was a nod to Roddy McDowall, this character. It was played by Steve Zahn, who played Bad Ape. Real comedy moments, some lighter moments put into the film because of this. But it is hard hitting, this film. It is definitely emotional. I remember looking over a couple of times watching this film, and my wife had a tear in her eye. So it really pulled the right strings, this film. Perfect way to end the franchise. And I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Very similar score, well, exactly the same score as the other two films, and I think I couldn't separate these films really. Even though the second one is arguably my favourite, all three of them are brilliant films, and I can't think of a more balanced movie trilogy that I have certainly seen for quite some time. They're so nicely put together, the effects are fantastic. Andy Serkis steals the show with his performance, but they're all brilliant films. I really enjoyed them, and I strongly recommend if you haven't seen it. I agree when people say that this franchise is amongst the best trilogy of films ever put to screen. I can't really argue with them. I would certainly say it is certainly one of the best trilogies I've put together, and one of the most balanced as well, because they're so good. 1 to 3. There's no real standout weakness here for any of them, and there's none of them are streets ahead in regards to quality. They're all arguably as good as each other. So that's my review for the Planet of the Apes trilogy, the new one. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you with more content and reviews on Screen Stars very soon.